Hey, I'm Esther Rodriguez. I'm a clinical consultant at RMTAC, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my experience with secondary traumatic stress when I was a home study and post-release services case manager. I'm going to start with some of the signs and symptoms that let me know that I was experiencing STS. The biggest one really was actually my somatic symptoms, which were my medical and physical symptoms. They were manifestations of my emotional distress. And it was a really hard time for me to maintain a healthy appetite. I was constantly feeling nauseous. I was throwing up a lot, and I ended up in the emergency room and urgent care several times. And I realized it was a symptom of STS when the medical professionals could not find a medical or physical cause for my symptoms. And then it became increasingly obvious too that I was experiencing compassion fatigue towards my clients. I was no longer responding to them with caring and empathy. I was more annoyed and frustrated, both with the system, but also just with the experiences that they were having. And I know that if I would have continued to ignore my symptoms, my compassion fatigue would have just gotten worse. And I would have experienced worsening burnout, where I was having a hard time staying motivated and completing work tasks and maintaining relationships with my clients, being supportive, and even completing things like progress notes and reports, just because I did not have the energy, I didn't have the capacity to stay focused on what I needed to do in order to support my clients. And if I would have continued to ignore the symptoms of STS, I know I would have also experienced a worsening or a deterioration in my work and personal relationships, because not having the energy and being so fatigued from the burnout, the compassion fatigue, and the STS, I just didn't have bandwidth left to be present for my relationships in and outside of work. Eventually, I made the really difficult decision to quit my job, because I just knew that when I took a step back and I looked at my life, I needed to make a decision about what was best for me in that moment. And if I continued to do what I was doing without making a significant change, I was not going to be prioritizing my well-being, both physically and mentally. But now that I know the signs and symptoms of STS and I can recognize it in myself and others, I really take advantage of things like my employee assistance program, because having those counseling sessions to be able to process what I'm going through, especially related to work, allows me to really just hold space for how I'm feeling and process that with someone who's there for me and understands what STS is and how it can be managed in a healthy way. But in that experience that I had, I think that more engagement for a fully remote team would have been helpful in not only managing our caseloads and sort of reviewing referrals and services for our clients amongst the team, but also engaging outside of work, having conversations and connections with my colleagues beyond just being case managers. And on a more personal note, I think also really taking a look at and developing coping skills that were actually effective in supporting me and my needs, which looked like tapping into my social support system, reaching out to my personal connections as well as my work connections, and letting them know what was going on so that they can show up as caring and supportive for me. That was what really made the difference.